New project, new project, new project. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about it. A little overwhelmed by it, a little stressed by it, but definitely excited. You gotta be, you know? It's a trailer. It's a trailer that's a very large trailer, actually. I was interested in purchasing or building an RV, a camper, a travel trailer of sorts. I wanted to travel with the family. I considered possibly doing some full-time RVing, and I just wanted to build something that I could use. Also, something that I could use as an office on my property. I do have a second property, and that is typically where you see a lot of what's going on. So, I have been through approximately 6 or 7 trailers so far, living quarters slash campers slash travel trailers, until I have finally educated myself on what I want to build and how I want mine to be. Initially, I found a hard shell pop-up camper that was kind of large. It was actually a 24 foot, and it was called a high-low. Now, I thought that thing was awesome because it went up hydraulically and it went down hydraulically, and I thought the thing was the coolest thing. And I was going to build that out. You know, I found a ratty one. They were rare, real hard to find. Found one down way south in Miami someplace and negotiated it out and dragged it home. That in itself was another story altogether. I've never dragged a camper, and I put it to the lowrider, and we dragged that thing back up, and the awning became disengaged, slammed down on the road. I'm glad there was nobody driving next to me. I was driving local, but I'm glad nobody was driving next to me, because that thing would have smacked somebody's car. And I don't need that. I really don't. But anyway, I pulled over and wired the thing back up and figured out how to get that thing up. You know, obviously this thing's a pile of crap when I bought it, because I needed a deal, and it was really the only one that was out there that was quote unquote the high-low. So I was definitely fascinated by the fact that it had a hydraulic pump and that it worked with cables that brought it up about 4 feet and dropped it back down. It was claimed to be the safest to drive with, and that you would save a bunch of money due to wind resistance, you know, because it would drop back down and it wouldn't be such a flying brick down the highway, so to speak. So I bought that. I thought it was pretty cool. And I started taking it apart. And being that I'm a bit meticulous and a bit detail oriented, you know, there's things I didn't like that I noticed. So I wanted to get to the bottom of them. You know, I'm not afraid to take apart anything. I'm not afraid to fix anything. And I know those things are pretty simple. It's a pretty simple build. So I started to take it apart. And I took off some of that plastic siding on the inside, the walls, kind of like a wallpaper. And the same thing with the roof. And underneath it, it had very thin wood paneling. A lot of large sections of that wood paneling had rot and mold. And the more I peeled, it was like a domino effect. The thing just started falling apart. It was horrible. It was horrible. So I figured, okay, well, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to get it. We'll be all right. So I continued to take it apart. And that's when I really got my thorough education on what a pile of crap these things are. You know, I still liked it. I was all about it. I wanted to be a fan for this company. I wanted to be a fan for this particular thing, because it was just a real feat of engineering for me just to see something that big go up and down. I thought it was really neat. I thought it just had a whole world of potential to be able to do something with. Not so much. Because at the same token, I have to sleep in it and I have to feel secure. Me, my family, you know, we just need to feel secure. And that's where the shocker came in. It's like, this is a step up from a tent, you know, but not much. I don't like that. Those are the types of things, when they sit around, the weather themselves will destroy them. And then I learned about the roofs and how the roofs are typically like a liner. They're not really roofs. These things are like a skin, like a vinyl top on a convertible vehicle. And then what happens is, through the years, they actually deteriorate and fall apart. Kind of like a shingle roof on a house, where you don't so much have to worry about it getting damaged. It is going to just disintegrate in front of your eyes. So it had leaks. It had lots of leaks. And of course, I don't know any better. So I went with it. Started taking the whole thing apart. And underneath that wood paneling was, of course, nastiness. Cockroaches and bugs and beetles and ants and just dead bugs and beetles and ants and things. It's nasty. I got it all out of there. Got the furniture out of there. Clearly it had water leaks. The bottom of the furniture, like the kitchen area and the bathroom area, if anything that was wood that was in there, which the majority of it was, had rot on the bottom of it. Made it all go. Gutted the whole thing out. Looked at it. Did a bunch of work gutting this thing out. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. What happened was once I started really getting it empty, I could really see what this thing was all about from beginning to end. And it was built with 1x1 box steel that was very thin, very chintzy. Like the type of stuff that you would find at, I don't know, maybe like an IKEA or something, real just flimsy kind of stuff. And you could grab the shell of this thing and yank on it real hard. And you could probably rip it apart with your bare hands. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I'm thinking, here I am. I'm not that big. And if I can grab this thing and yank it all the way around like I'm doing, just imagine what the highway's going to do to this. Just imagine what a decent rainstorm is going to do to this. So on and on and on, here we go. And not to mention the other issue with that was the fact that this was all built out of this mild, crappy steel. They didn't even have the decency to paint this box steel. So, of course, when the roof leaf started, it was the domino effect of the full destruction from the inside out on this camper. There were large pieces that were broken, and it was very flimsy. And then you had a 1x1 piece of box steel like every 4 feet in this thing with a top rail that went across. It just, wow. Wow, it was, what a pile of crap that was. In between, you had styrofoam, 1-inch styrofoam, and that was, I guess, there for some type of support and some type of insulation. This thing got real hot, and it was real flimsy. So I cleaned it out, and I just said, forget it. You know, maybe I'll start off with something a little bigger and better. And I got rid of that one. Moved on to the next one, moved on to the next one, and it was almost the same story. I mean, I was so hung up on this whole high-low deal, trying to deal with these high-lows because I figured, you know, it was a good starting point because of that whole up and down thing with the aerodynamics. Man, I couldn't get over that. I just couldn't get over that. I really liked that. I did, you know. So on to bigger ones, and I would get all the bigger ones. And it was funny, I actually was looking for the biggest one they made with a slide out. And this thing was a 31 foot, and it was like a unicorn, very rare to find. And I posted on their forums that I wanted to purchase one of these, and I didn't care what condition it was, I wanted to fix her upper. And ironically, well, I didn't receive any responses. Nobody had one, and the ones they did have, people talked about how they were rare and they loved these things and all this other stuff. A gentleman reached out to me on my birthday, of all days, and said to me, are you still interested in one of those big 31-foot high-lows? Of course I was, kind of, sort of. I came up with another plan at that point, but hey, you know, opportunity arises, and you go with it, you know? So I figured I'd listen to him and see what deal he had to offer me. And he basically said to me, you could have it if you want it for free. Now, of course, you know, I'm going to jump all over that for free, especially, you know. Where are you located, sir? I'm in Arizona. Wow, that's far. You think you could send me a couple of pictures of it? I just want to make sure it is what it is. I mean, I can't expect much for free. You just can't expect much for free, you know? So he says to me, I can tell you where it is, but I'm not able to take pictures of it. And I asked him, why not? He said to me, because it was not located in Arizona. I said, okay, where was it? He said it was located in Ohio. I said, Ohio. And the plot thickens. So I started looking a little closer at his profile, looking a little closer at the website, the forums. I'm thinking, is this guy trying to jerk me around? Is there a catch to this? Does he want me maybe to front the money on the transport and pay him directly? Is there some kookiness to be had here? I don't know. Half of me thought possibly, but the other half knows that the junkyards are not going to take that thing for free, and you're most likely going to get charged to dispose of anything like that. And his basic response was, I have several of them, 2 of them, and I'm older and my wife is older, and unfortunately my wife got sick and we need to stop traveling. So we have to go back to a home base because we need to stay local for her treatments. So unfortunately, I need to give this thing up. So I continued to inquire a little bit more about the situation. I didn't want to pry too much because, I mean, that's personal for the guy, you know. But he basically said to me that it was given to him. Somebody gave him this trailer, and he was going to build it because, again, it was somewhat of a unicorn trailer in the high-low world. And he wanted to build it. But obviously time ran out and bad fortune, unfortunately, came across. But I will tell you this much, it could have been good fortune with a silver lining there, because what that thing turned out to be was another story all on its own. And I got pictures, and I'll do a separate video of that venture. But nonetheless, he said, if you take it, I will overnight you the title, and I will put you in contact where this camper's located. It was actually located at a storage lot in Ohio. And it was a real outside storage lot. And he said to me that you would have to pay the storage on it, the rent, until you moved it. He said it was current. He's been paying it every month for a year. I said, oh. Okay, I understand. I'm willing to do that. How much is the rent? He says it's $40 a month. I said, fantastic. See, down here in South Florida, if you wanted to store one of those things, it's probably going to run you $300-400 at least a month. So for $40, that was laughable. No problem. I'll pay it in advance. Not a problem. He put me through to them, and the lady was very nice. And I actually had to impose on her, and I really didn't want to, but I had to impose on her. I said, ma'am, can you help me out here a little bit? Can you take a couple of pictures for me? Because I'm in the middle of taking ownership of this trailer, and I want to make sure that, in fact, it is what it is. I also need to make sure that it's like somewhat towable. Because if this thing was burnt down or it was completely destroyed, I probably couldn't even get a transporter to bring it down. So I went ahead and did that. She took the pictures. It was fantastic. It really was. It looked so clean and so nice. And then when it came down here, I saw the typical high-low signs of sagging ceiling in the corner, ripples in the walls, and I started to dig further, and you guessed it, long story short, it turned into another, as we say, bomba, and it just wasn't happening. So at that point, I was going to lead into building my own camper out of a reefer box. And got onto that, and partway through that, I saw things I didn't like, and I saw things that could have been hurdles or stops for me that just were not going to make that project all that cost effective and all that worthwhile to do. So that was kind of on a standstill. So I continued to look around some more. And basically what I was looking for at that point was I was looking for an aluminum trailer. I didn't know how to do it, but I knew that the reefer box was real heavy because everything was reinforced underneath the bottom of this thing. And I'm a big fan of those reefer boxes. And you'll see some of my future videos. I'll talk to you about why I'm a big fan of those. They're heavily insulated. They're very strong for the most part. And they were cheap, at least the ones I managed to get. And again, another story for another day. But I needed a trailer. And the trailers I got were very heavy. They didn't have titles. It was a situation. I didn't want to go through the whole to-do either of an inspection. Down here, they're vicious with the inspections. They are mean with those inspections down here. If you are doing an assembly by parts vehicle, if you are doing somewhat of a rebuilt inspection, rebuilds are not too bad. But assembly by parts and homemade trailers, they are vicious. They will tear them up. And the worst thing about it is you're being interrogated by people that don't even know what they're looking at. So your work of art could very possibly become harassment of them turning around, accusing you of buying it, and, oh no, that looks good. I have heard nightmare stories about what goes on in those inspections, and I don't want to deal with it. I actually called DMV, and I called the local office that would be doing the inspection, and I spoke to one or two inspectors in there, and I had nothing but pushback and attitude from these people. And all I'm doing is inquiring before I even started. And right then and there, I knew that I didn't want no part of that. I really did not want any part of that, you know. So I was on the internet looking around, and I found this fantastic trailer. At first, I looked at it and I thought, well, maybe there's something wrong with the ad. Maybe there's a story to be had. And the trailer was an aluminum enclosed trailer. I swear to you, I thought this thing was God sent when I saw it. I really did. I was amazed by it. I was overwhelmed by it. I was afraid of it. And I went with it anyway. And I'll tell you, I am glad I did. I am very glad I did. What this thing is it's a 2001 Exus aluminum trailer. It's a fifth wheel trailer, and it's 48 feet long. It's all aluminum, and it has a 14-foot slide out. And it's got all the bells and whistles. It really does. Apparently a tow yard had it. Of all places, a tow yard had it in a real rough area of town down in Miami. And they were advertising it, trying to sell it, and nobody wanted to buy it. I believe part of that was the pictures were kind of lousy, and also the format in the advertising was kind of lousy. The details were kind of lousy, and people just didn't really get a grasp of what this thing was, because I think that it would have been sold really quick if they figured it out. So I called them. I was in every area interested, and I went down there and I bought it on the spot. I showed up on my money and I bought it on the spot. And I made a deal for them to bring it up, because at the time I didn't have a truck to pull it with. And that's the story behind the bus. Why we're building that is to pull this trailer. Now, whether or not I leave this thing 48 feet long or I decide to shorten it a bit, for the time being, it's staying a 48 foot. So I went down there, and me being into mechanics and ingenuity and all sorts of weird things, I was amazed by this thing. I was just blown away by what this thing was, you know. 48 foot, all aluminum. And all aluminum is all aluminum. The ceiling's aluminum, the walls are aluminum, the rafters inside, the crossbars are aluminum, the braces in the walls are aluminum, the crossbars and cross members underneath the trailer are aluminum, the floors are aluminum. Now, you don't see it offhand when you walk up to it, but you start looking and taking a closer look at it, you'll start seeing these things. I mean, to build that thing must have been a fortune. And at the time, I didn't know. I didn't do any research. I knew it was a good deal. I jumped on it. An hour after I saw it online, I was down there ready to go. 2 hours later, I owned it. Before I even did any research, because I knew just looking at this thing that it was going to be an amazing investment. It was definitely going to be something that I wanted to pick up and I wanted to do something with. And at the same token, it fell in that safety zone. The safety zone for me is anything that I buy that may be outlandish or ridiculous needs to at least be purchased cheap enough to where if it's a bad idea, I can still resell it and either make a profit on it or not take a loss. And it was there. It was there. So I got lucky on that. It was a triple axle. It was a torsion axle. It was 10 lug, heavy duty, electric brakes. It also is on a complete airbag system with a complete rear trailing arm 4-link suspension like a show truck. I've never seen that on a trailer. It looked like big money, bags underneath that. When I looked underneath that trailer, I saw it, I'm like, ooh, man, this thing's serious. And you look at the floor, every trailer I've ever looked at that I looked underneath it, including campers, they all had plywood. No, this thing's all planked with aluminum. Aluminum cross members, and the flooring you could see was all aluminum. And then to top it all off, I'm thinking, okay, this is a big enclosed trailer. I'll convert it. This thing was a retired command center with living quarters in it. This thing was sent for me. I needed something a little over the top. I needed something heavy duty. I needed something outside of the box, but I needed that compromise that would still fit in, where it would have a title, where it would have most of the things I needed, where it was set up and that I could work with and manage and handle, because at the same time, I got to do this by myself. I got to build this whole thing by myself. And I'll be honest with you, it's very trying. I didn't just buy this trailer. I bought this trailer approximately 6 months ago. You have seen this trailer in a couple of my videos in the background. I have wanted to put this trailer aside and not do any videos on it yet. But what is going on is, because of the rain and because of personal demands, I have to start on this trailer now. I'm also on hold with the bus because I was purchasing another vehicle because I needed large parts to start working on the body of that project. And the guy's flaking out on me. I've been waiting 3 months to purchase his donor vehicle to continue what we're doing on the bus. So between that, hurricane season and rain, it's becoming a little bit of an issue. And again, my personal demand for the trailer and my family's demand and my business demand, I need to get on that trailer. So I got videos on that trailer. I just did not want to present those videos to you until I gave you a front side story and an explanation of what's going on. I have to be able to explain to you what the journey's all about. I have to be able to explain to you the what, the where, the if, the when, the why, so that it's not a mystery, so that you can understand going into it what makes it worth it. Because if you don't have any ideas of what I'm doing or why, for the most part, why would you bother to watch? You know, I put this material out there because, again, like I said in my intro, I want to help you guys. I want to motivate you. I want you to see different things. I want you to be inspired by things that I do. No matter how stupid and ridiculous they are, I still would like you to be inspired, and I still would like you to be entertained. So, like I said, I made the deal. We got this thing home, and there's a lot of details to be had with it. Apparently, it was custom built 22 years ago by Excess Trailers. They were nice enough to send me the build sheet on it, and the sticker on this thing was north of $150,000 when they built it for the customer. Apparently, it was built as some kind of a daycare, and I think it went to Texas. And it was, I guess, maybe a short-term daycare for some kind of a company. It was just set up. It had bathroom, kitchen, had that big slide out. The slide out is also a big hydraulic slide out. It's not one of these cable-driven slide outs. It's got a big nasty ram. Everything's industrial. Everything's commercial, heavy duty. You know, but it is beat down. This thing is beat down, needs love. So I am getting into that, and I'll show you in some future videos what that's all about. But it was also a mobile command center. It was a It was a disaster recovery unit that they used it for. And it was used for how long, who knows? And where it's been, who knows? I actually had one of my friends, I showed him some pictures, and he's well-versed. And he said to me several years ago, he believes he spotted that trailer in another country, that it actually went to another country for disaster relief after one of these storms, and then it came back. So I don't know the history on it. It's mysterious, but I definitely like it. I like it a lot. This thing's big, real big. So, like I said before, I don't know if down the road in the future I want to start traveling with it, if I wouldn't shorten it, because 48 is very intimidating for me. But nonetheless, I need that 48 right now, so it'll stay at 48 for the time being. But it's a pretty amazing trailer. Pretty amazing trailer. Wired, plumbing, AC, electric, set up for 50 amp, hydraulic front jacks, hydraulic slide out. And the kicker, this thing's got a 15 kilowatt, 15,000 watt diesel generator inside the front that's already wired. So this thing is no joke. This thing was set up for something serious. Love it, man. Love it. right down my road. So, although I don't know how to work on diesel engines, I will soon enough. And here we are, hurricane season, so you know. And hopefully, God forbid, the thing doesn't take a hit itself. I'll strap it down, make sure it stays, hopefully. The only thing that concerned me was, well, at least initially, was when I called the manufacturer and they got into a discussion, and they remembered it. They said the thing was phenomenally heavy. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, it was close to, it was 18,000 pounds. I said, 18,000 pounds? How do you get to 18,000 pounds? What is your factory regular trailer weigh? And they said to me that their factory regular trailer is under 10,000 pounds. Empty. Aluminum. Which is great for something that big. So somehow this thing had 10,000 pounds of crap in it. And I'm in the process of removing it all. Because we're not using it. We're going to redo it. We're going to set it all up. Which again, in the future videos, you'll start seeing that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and set up some more videos for you. And I'm going to set up a slideshow. Just to bring you current. To let you see all the work that we've done up to this point. And I'm going to bring you up to speed on that. Because there's definitely things going on. I know you haven't heard from me in a little while. And I've been away from doing some videos, but I'm getting back into it. And I still have a lot of videos I got to edit and things I've been working on. But I just about work on everything probably 3 or 4 or 5 days out of the week, every single week. It's part of my lifestyle. It's what I do. So enjoy the new project. I hope you enjoy the content. And I hope you enjoy this video. And I hope you guys are looking forward to something new, just like I am. You know, some of these videos, you know, there's parts of the projects that get boring. And, you know, I try to leave some of that out. Some of the redundancy, some of the lousiness. But I do still want you guys to get a grasp and have a grip on what's going on and have a good understanding. I want you to feel like you're there, you know? I want you to feel like you've seen it, you know what it's about. Even if it's boring, I just want you to be able to experience it the way I experience it. Not so much the struggles, but everything else. Maybe the struggles. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.